Hello guys, now you will hear a brief summary of the movie Multiplicity. Enjoy watching. Doug works in a construction company. He constantly needs to supervise the work process to avoid the current situation. Under the guidance of the lazy Vic, the crew of workers mistakenly demolished the road in front of the Ron house, and now the company is being sued. Due to the mounting problems, Doug comes home late in the evening. As a result, he couldn't attend his daughter's induction into the campfire group, which is meant to be attended by fathers. Additionally, there are many things that need to be fixed at home. The family already sees Doug, the hard-working father, very little, and now he has even more responsibilities. Poor guy can only watch a recording of his daughter's event. In the morning, Doug's wife, Laura, receives an offer to return to her old job, but Doug opposes her desire to stop being just a housewife and gets upset. One of the projects that the engineer-builder is working on is a research center in Malibu. There, a small accident occurs, and Doug loses his temper. He destroys everything around with a monkey wrench. Dr. Leeds witnesses this scene and advises the builder to change his lifestyle and offers to help him with that. Initially, Doug assumes that the man is a psychologist and tells him about his problems. But it turns out that he is a geneticist who has been involved in cloning living organisms for 15 years. Starting with viruses and earthworms, Dr. Leeds eventually created a clone of himself. The scientist suggests doing the same for Doug so that he can have more time for his family. The subject clarifies that he needs a clone specifically for work. He is also concerned about avoiding a mishap like the one that happened to the character in the movie The Fly. Doug passes out, and the cloning process begins. It takes no more than 2 hours in total. After that time, Doug regains consciousness. But it turns out that it's not Doug but his copy. The man tries to argue about it since he remembers his entire life up to that moment, but an ear tag proves that he is not the original. Doug number 2 settles in a guest house filled with junk. Apparently, a more masculine copy of the man was created. He is aggressive, wants to watch sports shows, and calls the original a pushover. However, at work, he is highly efficient and focused. The main character, Doug, forgets that he could have skipped a meeting, so he has to come up with excuses to his secretary about his sudden change of clothes. Over the phone, Doug and his clone discuss their routes to avoid crossing paths and visiting the same places twice. Finally, Doug finds time to attend his son's game and even replaces the coach of the kids' team when he loses his temper and leaves the stadium. In the evening, Doug not only meets his wife and daughter, but also prepares dinner for the whole family. He lies to Laura, telling her that he had a serious talk with his boss and that the boss hired him an assistant. Additionally, he tells his wife that she can finally go back to work and he will take care of the kids when needed. Meanwhile, at work, the tough Doug number 2 is not willing to tolerate his lazy colleague, so he fires Vic when he arrives an hour late. Just as Doug was about to fulfill his long-time dream of playing golf, he receives instructions from Laura through the clone to pick up their daughter and take her to a dance photo shoot. This turns out to be quite a challenging task. Moreover, taking care of the kids overall becomes a real headache. After a month of struggling, exhausted Doug invites Laura to dinner at a restaurant. He complains that he can't keep up with cooking, laundry, cleaning, and taking care of the kids. Therefore, he suggests that his wife quits her job and focuses on what he believes she should be doing, being a homemaker. However, Laura's career is going well, and she has her own perspective on the situation.
Now, Doug, this is it.
Meanwhile, at a nearby table in the restaurant, another couple, Doug number 2 and his work colleague, are having dinner. The clone complains to his mistress that he has been living in the guest house for a month, while his wife is sleeping with his best friend. Doug sees them and is shocked. In the restroom, he asks his clone to switch places so that he can go back to work while the clone takes care of household chores. However, this suggestion only makes the courageous Doug number 2 laugh. Throughout all this time, he hasn't had a family or a home, but he excels at his job, bringing the company good profits. Confusion ensues in the dining hall, and the twins switch their partners. The clone kisses Laura, providing an opportunity for Doug to escape with his mistress. In the evening, Doug visits the clone's house and introduces him to another clone, Third. Third's role is to take care of the house and the kids. He also keeps company with the bored second. Judging by his manner of speaking and behaving, Third is the more feminine side of Doug. He is gentle and considerate with his wife, happily fulfilling domestic tasks. Plus, he doesn't mind getting into bed with Laura while the original Doug is stuck at a basketball game. Later, it turns out that nothing happened between them. Third only lightly rubbed against her with his sausage. However, this incident prompts Doug to announce the most important and inviolable rule: nobody but himself can sleep with Laura. Clones are forbidden. One night, Doug is awakened by noise from the guest house. The couple there is having a party with 2 girls. The original Doug politely escorts the ladies out and discovers that the clones have taken on the names Lance and Rico. But the biggest surprise awaits him in the kitchen. There's a 4th clone, Lenny, and he's a bit slow-witted. 2nd and 3rd created him to do the dirty work for them, like mowing the lawn or taking out the trash. However, the 4th clone turned out dim-witted because he is a copy of a copy, and quality usually suffers in such cases. Rule number 2 is revealed: no more clones.
I like pizza. I like it. I like Steve.
Rick is giving advice to his wife on how to wrap meat in foil, while reminiscing about Elizabeth Taylor's plastic surgeries and speculating on how they would decorate the Christmas tree. Laura is disturbed by her husband's behavior. It's time for a change, and the woman is completely bewildered. Doug is dressed in different clothes and suggests doing what the clone has already done today. At night, Laura tries to figure out what's going on. He alternates between being sweet and growling at her when Laura calls him at work. Moreover, her husband constantly forgets what they talked about earlier. The wife suspects a split personality. Right then, Doug suggests abandoning everything and going on a yacht together to relax. However, he has a flexible schedule, while Laura and the clones have many planned tasks. So our hero decides to take a break himself and entrust the 3rd clone to replace him both day and night. Of course, while adhering to the first rule. Doug sets off on a sailing trip with his new hobby buddies and has a great time. But that night, his wife decides to apologize for the fight in the best way possible. No matter how hard 3rd tries to pretend to be sick, he cannot resist, and the rule is broken. At the same time, in the clone's guest house, all the food runs out, and 2nd decides to retrieve some from the main house. Laura catches him and wants to ride her husband one more time. Lance resists even less than Rico and thoroughly exhausts her. Left alone, the defective clone gets scared by a thunderstorm and rushes into the house. Laura helps him change his wet clothes and realizes that her husband is ready for the 3rd round.
My peppy.
So in just one night, all the clones break the first rule. The 2nd clone got seriously ill and can't even get out of bed. The 3rd clone tried to ask for a day off from the boss, but today there's a meeting with the inspector that cannot be rescheduled. So the house husband clone went to the construction site instead. There he babbles nonsense and is unable to answer basic questions from the inspector. As a result, all construction work on the project is suspended for a month, and Doug gets fired. Later, the sick clone insults Laura and gets slapped in the face. Outside, she decides to confront him, but the problem is her interlocutor is the clueless Doug clone who doesn't even react to her.
Tell me what you want.
I want pizza.
The original Doug finally returns home and finds all the clones in his house. The trio is no longer worried that Laura will catch them because she left her husband and moved in with her parents with the kids. He also learns about his dismissal, and to top it off, the clones confess that they slept with his wife, including the idiotic one. Doug wonders why everything turned out this way. The dim-witted clone offers him a simple explanation: the guy didn't fix anything. Taking the statement literally, Doug decides to fix the situation. With the help of the clones, he starts a major renovation of the house. He also seeks help from previously fired Vic. To his surprise, Vic doesn't even question why there are 4 Dougs in front of him. The contractor fixes the house. Now it's time to fix the family. He tells Laura that he got confused and couldn't figure out who he wanted to be lately. He asks her to come to their house. The woman can't believe her eyes, especially when she sees the little pond in the backyard. Afterward, Doug tells his wife that he wants to start his own business. That way, he'll be able to manage his time. Laura is moved and ready to forgive her husband. Now it's time to say goodbye to the clones who are planning a trip to Las Vegas. As they leave, the trio is caught by Laura's gaze. Sometime later, the clones write a letter to Doug from Miami, where they opened their own pizzeria called Three Guys from Nowhere. And that's the complete tale, folks. Would you like to have a clone, and for what purposes? Write your wildest ideas and desires in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss out on new videos.